Hello everybody, welcome back. It is me, your old pal Orpheus, with another edition of the Madness and Mayhem podcast. Yeah, I injured my shoulder a couple weeks back and I'm still kind of nursing it, so we're just going to go with a couple of podcasts here in the meantime. Hope you are enjoying them and I hope you're doing well wherever you are today, whether it is day or night, doesn't matter to me. Coming by another time to strap on the old headphones and just sit back and relax and listen to some silly stories. So today what I wanted to talk about was something from my childhood. Growing up was an interesting experience with the kind of abuse that my family put my brother and I through. And so I want to tell you a story about how I used to hunt Santa Claus. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so to really flesh this story out, we got to talk about what kind of happened with me as I was growing up. I was the consummate young adult, and when I say young adult, my parents treated me like I was just a short adult. Okay, so like under 4 foot tall, 40-year-old basically. And the thing is, like, so I was always deemed as intelligent, whatever the hell that means, at a young age. And so that means that, you know, they got to try to immerse you in adult environments in order to stimulate and get your brain to grow and do all sorts of silly, whatever, bullshit that they do. Anyway. So the idea was that my parents would always take me to events like with just other adults, no kids around, or they would send me on like these adventures, like to go to a medical college or something and take some classes when I was like, 7 years old and taking classes with medical students. Just ridiculous stuff like that all the time, like just trying to immerse me in things that were very mature and very educated and very intelligent, right? Okay, so why does all that matter? Okay, well, around the holidays when I was growing up single digits, it was always like, oh, here come the holidays, here comes Santa Claus, you're gonna have Santa Claus showing up. And I'm like, earlier that day they had gotten me a book that was like, why I want to be a cardiologist, like a doctor for heart medicine, something like that. Or, I'd been spending the day at a computer camp or something like that. And they're suddenly going, oh, well, guess who's gonna be here soon? Santa Claus. And like we had this guy in the neighborhood. Who was, and I think there's a lot of places in the world, or at least in the United States, where there's that one guy in town who dresses up as Santa Claus. You know who I'm talking about. You can probably think of him right now. Maybe he's that guy who drives around in a red convertible and during the summer and stuff. And it's like, oh, it's Santa Claus on vacation. We've got one of those here. We've got a guy that dresses up as Santa and drives around on a motorcycle and stuff. But there's always that guy that's there who, he goes from house to house. And this guy used to call the houses around Christmas and be like, ho, ho, this is Santa. I hope you're being a good boy this year. It's like, who are you again? Why are you calling me? Because I figured out real quick that it was one of the neighbors from his voice. But anyway, so I was trying to break the magic with that, and my parents are always like, no, it's Santa Claus. He's calling you to check in, make sure you're doing okay. And then like he would stop by the house and he'd be dressed up in a full Santa outfit, and like it's cold outside in Michigan, so of course, there's some coldness going on. He's walking from house to house too. So my parents were like, did you see he had his nose was red from being pulled on the sleigh and stuff. And I'm like a 9-year-old or 8-year-old me going, you really can't be serious with this stuff, right? You realize that I know that this is all crap, right? Oh, no, it's Santa Claus. He's going to bring you some toys and you better. So here's the part that's really screwed up about this. You're thinking, oh, your parents were trying to keep the magic going. Well, no, with the level of abuse, like I said, that my dad specifically put on us, there was constantly this tension going on. This there was just this like, screw you little shit kind of thing going on all the time, right? I was always doing something that was unacceptable or always doing something that was pissing off my parents or something like that. And so there was this constant, like, screw you. you're grounded, or we're not getting you a birthday present, or you're not gonna get any Christmas presents or something. But there it was. Santa Claus was always, maybe Santa will bring you some presents. And again, it's like you're talking to me normally 99% of the time like I'm in my mid to late 20s, and now suddenly you're like, and Santa Claus. It's like, okay, whatever. So the thing that was screwed up about it was like this stark contrast between like abusive and like suddenly it's the holidays, but not just the holidays, like Christmas night, Christmas Eve, and it's like, oh, guess what? Santa Claus is gonna be here overnight. Oh, right, let's set out the milk and cookies and everything. Well, if you're a family that has young kids and they know that Santa Claus is a thing, right, and they believe in Santa Claus and everything. By the way, spoilers. I hope you're not young and listening to my podcasts or my content in the first place. If you are, hey, parents, if you're listening, turn this off. What are you doing? Don't let your kids listen to me. Anyway, but spoilers, there's no Santa Claus, but my parents always were like, oh, no, it's gonna be a thing that happens. And so I started to get pissed, and it was like, it took me a year or two of them shoving this stuff down my throat. But like, oh, Santa Claus is coming to set out the milk and cookies and everything. And then the next morning, oh, did you see there's a bite out of the cookies and the milk is gone. And look, there's presents that were labeled from Santa Claus, right? Well, you do that as an adult for your adult friends or your spouse or something like that, and you say, "Oh, here's something from Santa Claus," and everyone's like, nah, right? Well, when you do that for kids, it's like, "Oh my gosh, something from Santa Claus is here. How did it get? He must have come down the the whole thing with Santa Claus, right?" And I figure, it's almost June, so we'll talk about Santa Claus. Why not? So what was screwed up about it is like they would try to maintain this illusion of there being a real Santa Claus. And I'm going like, hey guys, can you maybe stop wasting your energy here? Let's just do the whole present thing and everything. Is, at that age, 8, 9 years old, I was already an old hat at Christmas, I knew what was going on. I knew the tale, but I just didn't believe the hype. And so here we go. I think I was 7 years old or 8 years old. And it's Christmas Eve, and my parents are getting ready, and they're trying to hustle us off to bed, my brother and I. And what they would do on Christmas is they would put me into my brother's room. My brother had bunk beds, and normally I had my own room and everything, but on Christmas they would put me in with my brother so I wouldn't wake up overnight and go flying out of the room, right? And go screwing down to the living room to see what was going on and like if the presents were there yet, right? Well, so the first year that they did that, I think I was like 4 or 5 years old, I think, where they started having me stay with my brother in his room. Because at that point, I understood the concept of what was going on. And so about 3 years into that, I just started to go, well, screw this. I'm going to wait until he falls asleep, and then I'm going to go out. So what do you do, Orpheus? Why would you sneak out? Well, it wasn't to catch Santa Claus. Okay, it wasn't to see if I could see Santa Claus coming down the chimney and laying presents under the tree. Now, what I did is I got, during that time of year, there's a surplus of jingle bells, right? So those little balls, the little jingle balls that have they're made of metal and they make that noise, right? Okay, so what I did is I took a bunch of them and I'd string them onto a ribbon, like a piece of ribbon for wrapping a present, right? And I would string them with thumbtacks. I would put them on one side and the other side of the fireplace, a couple places, like, 1 foot up and like 3 feet or 3 inches off the ground and like 2 feet off the ground. And I kind of strung them across there like a garland, so there's your trap for there. And then I did... And you're like, oh, that's cute. No. I went much deeper than that because I only did those because I thought, I was trying to get, the point where, well, I guess I don't know where Santa Claus is going to come from, right? So, it's so cute. And I almost said my name again. Wow. It's so cute that little Orpheus is going to set out a trap at the fireplace for Santa Claus. Well, no, I also set them up in the hallways. I set them up in front of my parents' door, like a tripwire, basically, but like covered in jingle bells. So I would sit and I would wait right inside the door with the door cracked just a little bit in my brother's room. And I would wait every year to see where I'd hear those jingle bells going off, and like up the hallway where my parents' bedroom, and ding, 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 ding. I'd like look my head out. My parents are always like, "Go back to bed. We were just checking to see if Santa has come yet." Yeah, okay. So, because I never heard the jingle bells going off in the living room, always heard them in the hallways and in my parents, the one in my parents' bedroom. Really strange. So anyway. That's my little story about hunting Santa Claus. I actually used to get in trouble for it, and I think I did it for about 2-3 years after that. I was like 8 to 10, somewhere in there, just to prove the point to my parents that I knew what was going on. And then they kind of dropped the whole Santa charade because I was the younger kid. My brother is 5 years older than me, so he had already kind of gotten past that. Although there was a little short window, period of time where my brother would have still believed in Santa Claus while I was like slightly with it. So like he would have been 10, I would have been 5. I think he still believed it, but like even at 5 I was like, no way, there's no way, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, how come there's this mysterious stranger that looks a lot like Mr. Johnson from down the road coming, he's telling he's gonna bring presents, like something seems up, there's a little sus, I don't know, it just seems strange. Anyway, so like I said, that's my little thing about hunting Santa Claus. And do you have any weird stories about Christmas or anything like that? Did you used to do something like that, or is that just me? Was I a weird kid, or did you have this desire to figure out if your parents were bullshitting you as well? Anyway, so we'll see you in the next one here on the Madness and Mayhem podcast on Orpheus Plays. Be well, do well, and treat yourself well, because you absolutely deserve it. We'll see you next time. Bye.